Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Rhonda Britten, Emmy Award-winner, master coach, and best-selling author. Please enjoy Rhonda Britten. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Rhonda Britten, Emmy Award winner, master coach, and best-selling author. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. We're talking about something I love so much, creativity, because creativity is the essence of life itself. Letting that fly, right? Without creativity, without letting that spark fly, then we're really, really boring people, right?
You couldn't have said it better. Yes, we are really boring people without creativity. And I can't wait to hear all about how creativity has shaped your life and shows up for you. But before we dive in, why don't you take a couple of minutes and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm going to put it through the lens of creativity because
Beautiful.
For most of my life, I did not think I was creative.
Yeah.
I remember I was in a job after college. I was the director of marketing for this little hotel chain. And my boss would always say how creative I was. And I'd be like, no, I'm not creative. I only thought of creativity as like, scissors and, paper and right. And then I left Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota and Michigan. And I went out to LA to become an actress. So this actress bug had hit me when I was a little child, like 4 or 5 years old. I always wanted to be an actress.
Yeah.
And I, again, didn't think I could do that because I grew up in a little town. So you can't be an actress because you don't know anybody who's an actress. You can't do that. And I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I was looking for a roommate, and somebody came and applied, and she was an actress from Los Angeles. And I remember like, oh my God, yes, of course, move in with me. Like, because I had no comprehension. How could somebody be an actor? I don't understand that. And how could somebody like move to Los Angeles? It was beyond my comprehension. So I moved her in, as my roommate. Yes, please move in. And, basically sucked her dry for a year. And then when she was going to move back to LA, I said, I'm coming with. And the joke is that she ended up not leaving. And I ended up moving by myself. But this is what I said to her. If I don't move now, because I'd psychologically ramped myself up to move.
Yeah.
If I didn't move, I would marry my college boyfriend and live in Minneapolis the rest of my life. Not a bad life, by the way. He's a very successful man. I would have been very happy, per se. But I knew if I didn't escape right now, if I didn't leave right now, I would live in Minneapolis as a wife, mother, etc., and never try acting. So, and then when I was an actress, which was so funny, is I was waitressing because that's what actors do. And the bar I worked at had a open mic night for comics.
Yeah.
And everybody would be like, Rhonda, you're so funny. You're so funny. You should try. And I looked at them and go, I am not funny. So I literally believed most of my life I was not creative and I was not funny. And I believe that, like, literally I would fight with you. I would fight. Right. And I look back at it now and go, yeah, because creativity is such a powerful force in our life, because creativity means you can create from anew, right? You can create out of nothing. And I think for me, having that power, and of course, where I grew up in Upper Michigan, there, like, I didn't know any creative people. Like, nobody I knew didn't. You know what I mean? Like, there was nobody painting or writing, or like, there was nobody I knew. So it was just beyond my comprehension.
Yeah.
And so I think creativity is such a force to be cherished. It is a precious. I mean, it's just like a precious thing that so many of us are taught we don't have permission to be.
Absolutely.
So I know for myself, I did not embrace creativity until I was in my mid-30s. Really, and I started acting in LA when I was like 27 something, which is late for acting. But I didn't, again, still think I was creative yet. It really took me to my mid-30s to actually even be like, I'm creative? What?
Yeah. So what was that turning point for you?
It was actually when people kept bugging me that I was funny, and I joined a improv group, and I also took a stand-up comedy class.
Oh.
And I started writing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're do stand-up, you got to write. When you do improv, you do not write. And as I started writing, I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. Oh my God, this is so funny, right? And I remember I was in a class, it was like our third week, and the teacher's like, who would like to come up and share what they've been working on? And I literally thought I was hysterical. So I like raised my hand really high, like, oh my God, I'm so amazing, right? And I go up in front of the room and I start, doing my bit. And I think as I rehearsed at home, I'm hysterical, right?
Yeah.
As I'm doing my bit, nobody's laughing.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I realized that I wrote funny. I didn't speak, like couldn't act.
Oh.
So I started recognizing the different funnies there were in the world. And so
Mm-hmm.
that started my embrace of creativity. But then what really did it is when I uh, took life coaching. I was the first life coach on TV in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and first reality show in England. And here I am in London, and I'm on TV, the first one ever to do it. And I start making up all these exercises for my clients. And I realized, like, actually, this is what I do, and this is who I am. And I didn't even know that I did this.
Yeah.
I've done over 600 episodes of television. I've created over 1,500 exercises, unique and different for each client. And it's one of my superpowers. So if somebody has an issue in their life that they can't get over, I'm like, come on out, come to my house for a day or two, and I promise you it'll be done, because I will create a unique exercise that will
Yeah.
be designed just for you, just for your issue, just for your problem, just for what you think is, and somehow I can do it. And so, yeah, now I know I'm creative, but I got to tell you, for 35 years of my life, for more than half my life, I did not believe I was creative.
Yeah. I'm so curious the shift from acting and comedy and writing into life coaching.
Mhm.
How did that happen?
Well, so again, I didn't even start acting until I moved to LA when I was 24,
Mhm.
and it took me, I was frozen for 2 years. I
Mm,
did not act or do anything for 2 years. I literally stood in my little studio apartment, like waitressing, and I didn't meet anybody,
yeah.
and I didn't know what to do. So it was only when I changed jobs, changed locations, changed apartments, and the bartender at the restaurant I worked at was like, "Let me take you under my wing," and he did, and I went, "Ah!" Right, and then I did it. So I
Hmm.
probably started acting, let's see, 24, probably 26, and then by the time I hit 32 and was acting a lot, like I had my SAG card, I had my after card, I was like, "Oh wow, look at me." And I was getting more and more work. I had done 5 pilots actually,
Mm,
and I was on the verge of, I mean, I was getting lots of work. I had health insurance, which, if you're a SAG person, like health insurance, that's crazy, right? I
right.
got commercials, right? So the more and more I worked as an actress, the less and less I liked it.
Hmm.
And I realized that I liked the acting classes. I didn't really
Mm,
like acting itself,
yeah.
because what acting gave me, why I loved it so much, the classes, is I grew up in Upper Michigan and grew up in a Finnish household and grew up where there was no expression and no
Hmm.
feelings and no questions. And so acting classes taught me about feelings, taught
Yeah.
me about expression. And I definitely to this day believe that every junior high should have improv classes as mandatory,
Hmm.
because improv teaches you how to be authentic, to be one with yourself, to go with the flow, to
Hmm.
trust yourself. And so I do believe that every single human being on the planet needs to take improv. So the more and more I worked, the more and more I realized I don't particularly like being on a set all day. I don't particularly
Hmm.
like developing a character. That's not what I like.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to give it up, because I'd wanted to be one since I was a little girl.
Right.
And I remember asking my acting friends, like, do you think of acting when you wake up in the morning? And they're like, yes. I go, I don't. I don't think about it in the morning. Now, mind you, I was an A+ acting, like I went to every showcase, I went to every class, I did everything.
Yeah.
And so that was a really hard, hard, hard change to make, to give that up because again, there was no such thing as coaching yet. And I
Right.
would have never thought I could be because my life was I had gone through such a horrible experiences in my life that I absolutely did not believe that I had any right to tell anybody what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's coming to me for advice. I am not your role model, people, right? And so there was no next thing. I had nothing. There was nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. There was no nothing, right? And so when I gave up acting, I definitely went through a dark night because who am I? I also was trying to get pregnant at the time, couldn't get pregnant. I'm infertile. So these things, just like these two dreams, right? These two dreams just died, right? And it was devastating for me.
Yeah.
And only through, step here, step there, step here, step there, that
Mm-hmm.
I found myself where I am today in a very miraculous, magical, crazy way, how I came here to be, because it really was a miracle. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what a trajectory to step into the coaching world and then to be doing that on television for the very first
There
time.
was no coaching when I started. There was like five of us, right?
Yeah.
And then there was no coaching on television. There was no such thing. So the joke of the century is you can see the irony. So here I am, an actress praying for a series. Please, God, give me a series. And then I quit acting because I don't want to be anybody else but myself and I have no idea who I am. I mean, I started going, who am I? Because I only played other parts. I realized I want to know who I am. And
Yeah.
so when I quit acting, I was like, well, who am I? And so then years later, I play myself on television and have three TV series. It's like, come on, God, are you kidding me? I
Right.
also think God was like, hey, Rhonda has to do this stuff on TV and change lives, and she's going to be the first life coach. God has it all planned, right? He goes, how am I going to make her comfortable on camera? Oh, I'll use her ego. I'll use her wheel of fear. I'll, get her to be like, I want to be an actress and be famous, so nobody bothers me, right? And so that's like the joke of the century. It's like, here I am, give up acting, and then I'm the first life coach on TV, and I've done 600 episodes of television and three series. Come on. Come
The
on.
cosmic humor, that
Yeah,
is for sure.
it's hysterical. It's hysterical. Hysterical. I think about that and I go, God really knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you've navigated some, as you said, dark nights of the soul experiences. In those moments, how did how did creativity kind of support you through that? Or how did creativity show up in those more challenging times?
Well, I think I started trusting myself
Mm,
because even in my own life, when I started, uh, going through the healing process of the worst day of my life, which I'm happy to share if you'd like, but it's like the
yeah.
worst day of my life, I started eventually, not for years, but eventually started asking myself, one, who am I?
Hmm.
And then I think creativity comes with the willingness to experiment to find out who you are.
Mm,
Like I
yeah.
really didn't know who I was. And
Mhm.
being willing to ask myself, well, who am I? And exploring that. Even
Mm,
my favorite color was green because my kindergarten boyfriend's favorite color was green, and
yeah.
at the time I was married and my favorite food was Mexican because my husband's favorite food was Mexican. Like I didn't even know. Now, mind you, if you would have asked me, I would have been like, well, yes, my favorite color is green. And yes, my favorite, like I would have believed
Hmm.
what I had taken on as myself. And it was
Yeah.
only when I quit acting and started asking myself who I am and started questioning. This is actually what I did. I actually asked myself every day about everything I did, is this true for me? Is this who I really am? Do I really like this? I mean, I would
Mm,
pick up a cup and go, do I like this cup? I don't know. Do I like this cup? And I would start just investigating every single solitary thing. I would walk around the world and go, do I like that? Is that aligned with me? And allowing myself to be right, wrong, surrender, give up,
mhm.
take on. Because I think a lot of creativity is about surrendering.
Yeah.
So just learning the act of surrendering to discover who I am was, I mean, I look back at myself and go, how did I do that? Like, that was just like, how did I do that? There was no coaching back then. There was no, I mean, I was a self-help junkie, but I just made that up for myself and started asking myself those questions.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, to really discover your likes, dislikes, your opinions, what worked for you, what didn't work for you.
had no idea. I had
Hmm.
zero idea. And if you would have met me, I don't know if you would have thought that because I was, I'm, kind of a friendly, I can speak up. And so you would have probably thought like, oh, she's so confident, but it's like, no, I actually wasn't.
Yeah, the agency piece of
Yes.
discovering for yourself who you are
Yes.
without taking on what other people tell you, and I imagine in the acting world there is a lot of that. People saying you need to be this, you need to be that, and whether
Yeah.
that aligns with you or not.
That's right. That's right. So just my whole life, growing up where I grew up in Upper Michigan, I grew up in a Finnish family, which means you don't feel and you don't have fear and, you don't talk about things. And, so there was nothing available for me. Like I had no way to process what was happening to me. And I also didn't know I was having feelings. I didn't even know what was happening, at a
Yeah.
right. So I would read books and, but there was no one to talk to,
Hmm. No
nothing.
point of reference, really.
Nope, nothing, zero. So I would just read books and be in my own head about things, right? And I didn't know if I was crazy or smart or stupid or worthless or right. I just knew that being myself was not okay. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I think about asking myself in my mid 30s, who am I? Growing up where I grew up, that was a bold move because
Yeah.
just even being curious about who you are is indulgent, right? That's pretty
Mm.
selfish of you being indulgent and walking around and saying, "Do you like this?" Like you should just be happy you have that cup, lady. Like you should be
Sure.
happy that you have that glass,
Yeah.
right? And now you're asking if you like it or not, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, that was just so beyond. There was no, everything was utilitarian, right? Everything was like, you know,
Right.
there was no liking something.
Yeah, it was the usefulness of it. Did it serve
All
a
about
purpose?
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's right.
So going from asking yourself in your 30s that question, how did you step into turning into the life coach that you are today?
Well, I've got to tell you a tiny bit of just a quick little history, just a little quick story about the worst day of my life, because then I'll
Yeah.
tie it because it's really key point of why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So I believe the worst day of our lives have the seed of our destiny in it. I'm just going to
Mm.
quickly tell you the worst day of my life. I was 14. I grew up in a little town, as I shared, in Upper Michigan, and my parents were separating, and it was Father's Day. My father was coming to take us out for Sunday brunch, me and my two sisters and mother. And my mother, we're in her bedroom. She's fluffing up her beehive, putting on a rose-colored lipstick. My two sisters in the bathroom fighting it out. My dad walks in, come on, come on, come on. So me and my mom walk out. My sister's still in the bathroom fighting it out. And my dad says he's got to get his coat from the car. Now his coat is a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. You're too young to remember leisure suit coats, but anybody my age knows leisure suits were hot. And so my dad opens his trunk to grab his leisure suit coat. And I notice out of the corner of my eye, he's not grabbing a coat, but he's grabbing a gun. And he starts
Mm.
yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And
Mm.
I start screaming, "Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And he cocks the gun, points it at me. I think I'm next. He blinks, I blink, he blinks, I blink. My mother, literally with her last breath, screams out, "No, don't." My father, realizing my mother is still alive, takes that bullet intended for me, shoots my mother a second time. That second bullet goes through my mother's abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn, and all I hear is, eh. My father then cocks the gun a third time, puts it to his head, and fires. So, in a matter of 2 minutes, I was the sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how people would respond, but this is what I responded as. It's my fault because I was the only one out there that could have saved her, right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
jump in front of my mother, I didn't kick his shins, I didn't grab the gun. And so for the next 20 years, I basically lived two lives, the outside Rhonda and the inside Rhonda. The outside Rhonda, I'm fine, 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 I'm fine. And the inside Rhonda, worthless, guilt, shame, self-hatred.
Sure.
And so I found alcohol in college, started
Mhm.
drinking, became an alcoholic, uh, got three DUIs, three suicide attempts. And it was that third suicide attempt that I realized I'm not very good at kill myself. And they put you in a psychiatric ward, by the way, if you try to kill yourself three times. So they put me in a psychiatric ward. I came out, they deemed me not crazy. And during those years that I was drinking, suiciding, DUIing, I was also reading books. I was self-help. I read my first self-help book when I was 12. So
Mhm.
I was reading self-help, going to therapy, workshops. I was doing everything I could possibly do
Yeah.
to change my life. But none of it stopped me from wanting to die, right?
Mhm.
And I realized when I went home that day from the psychiatric ward that I had a lot of tools and skills, but I I didn't know what was still holding me back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to apply those tools and skill, and I think that's true for most people.
Yeah.
And they learn a lot, but they don't actually apply it to their life. They don't know how to apply it to their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I decided at that day when I got out of the psychiatric ward that that I had to start over, and I go, what do kindergartners do? Well, they get a gold stars and calendars. So I went to the store, got calendar gold stars, and for the next 30 days, gave myself a gold star for anything that changed, that anything that moved forward. And it was like getting angry but not breaking anything. Woo, yay, Rhonda Britten, you're amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so that was the beginning of me recognizing that knowledge enough wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Started on a journey of understanding, and it took me a few more years. Like I didn't get it then, but it took me many more years to really understand how fear worked,
Mm-hmm.
which brings me to how I became who I am today.
Yeah.
So here I am. I give up acting. I had worked for a PR company for a while and decided I was going to go out on my own and have a little PR company and work with solo entrepreneurs, like a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent, right? A lawyer, right? Like somebody. And one of my clients was one of the first life coaches in the world.
Mm.
Right? And he would tell me all the time, like, oh, you were going to be a better coach than me. And I'd look at him and go, did you forget about the DUIs and the suicide attempts and the alcoholism? I don't think so. I'm not anybody's role model. And I would literally argue with him.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea what you are saying. You are a crazy human being. Because first of all, there was no such thing as coaching. And two, I definitely couldn't do it. I mean, I like literally just, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to the miracle. So here I am at his house one day, we're brainstorming, and I ended up not only do his PR, but I actually ended up kind of, I didn't even know how I knew how to do this. See, God had set me up. Like I started creating workshops for him, and I started, uh, doing speaking for him. And I started doing all these things, like building his business for him. Again, I didn't know how to do this. How do I know how to do this? I just knew how to do this for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting on the couch and he's at the board and we're brainstorming the new workshop, brainstorming, And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye on the right, from the ceiling, comes out a cloud with a book on it. And the book goes like this.
That's just like all the pages start flipping.
All the pages start flipping and it shuts, lies back down in the clouds and goes back in the ceiling. And I'm like, what the heck? Right? Like, what the heck just happened? I absolutely believe it's not for me because I heard a lot of messages and I'm like, but that's not for me. So I turned around thinking somebody had walked in and I accidentally heard it. Nobody walked in. I look over at Paul. He's still writing, completely clueless. And I'm like, what the hey? I was at the time going through a 4-year spiritual practitioner training, which is basically a spiritual therapist. And the next day I had an appointment with my minister and I ran there as fast as I could and went like, this happened, the sky opened up and the book came out and it told me. So what it did is it downloaded every answer to every question I'd ever had in my life. It also told me, now you must go and teach this. You must go and share this.
Yeah.
And so I'm like telling the minister that, and she goes, oh, you got the call. And I'm like, yeah, but I left college with 3 credits left. I got to go finish that, my bachelor's, and I got to get my master's, and then I got to get my PhD. So I'll be ready in 7 to 10 years. And my minister kept saying, no, you got the call. It means you're ready. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I got to go get my bachelor's. I got to get my bachelor's. And then I'll be ready. And she just kept telling me, no, you got the call. And it took me a few more months to embrace this. And it was really one of the people that I enrolled in one of Paul's classes that was a friend of mine. And she looked at me and she goes, I go, hey, come and take Paul's new class. And she goes, well, why don't you coach me? And I'm like, me? No, Paul. Paul is the one. You got to go, Paul. And she goes, no, I want you to coach me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I realized it took me a few days, few weeks to go, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. So she's my first client. And by the way, she's still one of my clients and she still takes my classes and she still studies with me. And she's one of my certified coaches and she's one of my certified coaches. But it was, I really look back at my life and go, like I said earlier, God really knew what he was doing because I absolutely 100% did not believe that I had a right to tell anybody or help anybody because I was no role model. Look at all my, I mean, I really did believe at that point that my past was my present and was my
Mhm.
future.
Mhm.
So until I had that miraculous moment happen, did I even allow myself? It had, that thing had to be bigger than me. Like it had to be like God himself coming down and saying, Rhonda, and
Yeah.
and me still saying, no, no, I'm not doing it. You can't make me, right?
Yeah, I'm 7 to 10 years,
Right,
7 to 10
right,
more years before I'm ready.
right. Drag me there. You dragged me there. And yeah, so and then became one of the very first life coaches, and then wrote one of the first coaching books, and then became the first life coach on TV.
I love it. I mean, what a life you've had to get to, and having gone through everything you've gone through to be able to be here today and share those pieces with me and my listeners, but also with everyone else that you work with. For people who may not think of themselves as creative or struggling to find creativity in their life, how would you encourage others to find creative spark or their creative voice?
Well, one of the things that I invite you to do is practice trusting yourself. So, one of the ways to practice that in a very easy, simple way is actually to use writing prompts.
Mm-hmm.
So, get a writing prompt, and you can get them. I teach a writing prompt class, and there's writing prompts everywhere. There's
Yeah.
get them anywhere. And just look up writing prompts, and every day set a timer for 3 minutes or 5 minutes and just write down, the writing prompt might be, there was a red door, or tell me a story that made you laugh. Again, it could be lots of different things. And in the beginning, you might be like, well, I don't know what to write. Well, then you write down, I don't know what to write, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just write down whatever, and you write as fast as you can. Do not stop. Do not lift your pen off for 3 to 5, whatever the timer says. And I promise you, it may not happen in 3 sessions. It may not happen in 10 sessions, but I promise you, I've seen this over and over again. By the 15th, 20th, you'll start actually, your brain will start loosening up, and you'll start trusting yourself, and your hand will start writing things that you can't believe it's
Mm-hmm.
capable of writing. And so then that process of that's all in me um,
Mm. Yeah.
is a very simple and revolutionary and uh, self self-revealing way to start recognizing that there's a lot more in you to
Mm-hmm.
share, a lot more of you to express, a lot more of you. And if you can start writing on the paper more freewheeling, you'll be able to bring that to your life every day.
I love that tip and that practice of free writing, 3 to 5 minutes. I think the
Yeah.
time can often get in our way of thinking we have to
Yes.
write for 20 minutes, but 3 minutes, three to
three
five minutes
minutes.
can
Change
unlock
your life.
something.
Change your life. It can
Yeah.
change your life. I've seen it in my writing prompt class. I have people in there that, first few classes, they're like, I go, oh, would you like to share? And they're like, I didn't know what to write. And it's like, okay, what'd you write? I don't know. I don't know. Great. So you wrote, I don't know. Yeah, and then, 3 classes later, 6, they're just, we're laughing and crying about what they're writing, and they're in shock. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty, right? The shock that that's all inside of you that you don't even know.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but we have come to the end of our time together today. But I have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Oh, freedom, definitely.
Mm.
I am, when I first started speaking, I thought, well, I didn't speak because I thought I had to be that perfect speaker. I was like, "Dee, dee, 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 I'll be a robot." And when I realized that I could be my floppy self, my
Yeah.
floppy, like move around because I'm a real body embodier, that actually worked. That was shocking to me.
Mhm.
So, just know that freedom exists in your body, brain, and heart as you
Mm.
start trusting yourself. And creativity is a avenue in which to do that, whether it's painting, whether it's writing, whether it's thinking, allowing yourself to think creatively,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it is. I mean, just creatively going to the store tomorrow. Don't go the same way. Just creatively go, I'm going to just trust my intuition, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to just go right, left. This seems I'm going away from the store. Just do that. Like go that way, right? Um, you know, the world, the way you see the world, everything changes.
Mm.
Everything, every relationship, every way you see yourself, everything changes. So allow yourself the gift of that. And I'm knowing that you are going to find a whole new aspect of yourself that will be freed, and you will have more freedom and more joy in your life. I know that to be true. 100%.
I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. If people want to learn more about the work you do, what you have out in the world, how could they go about doing that?
Well, let me give you a free class that will help all those people that want to become more creative and are scaredy cats, are nervous about it, like I was.
Oh,
It's called Stretch, Risk, or Die. It's a 15-minute video class. It's really super easy. It's all about how to take risks, how to make a dream happen, how to move forward. So if you're stuck anywhere in your life or want to start moving towards a goal or a dream, go take Stretch, Risk, or Die. Go to fearlessliving.org/risk, fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK. Put your name and email in. You'll get access to the course. Again, it's 3 15-minute videos. It has a workbook. It has templates, everything you need to start seeing like, well, why am I stuck? Well, I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you how to get out of it.
I love it. Well, I will put links in show notes so people have easy access. And thank you so much, Rhonda, for taking the time to chat with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
As I have. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.